care how long you use the password. Because as I told you, if I know your password to log into your email, I will not tell you. I will use your password to log into your email. From time to time, I can check your email, read your message. You will not know until when, if you didn't change your password. Okay? In the share password policy, you have to share the password with others. So make sure you have some policy. Of course, if you have the auditing, it's good. But because you share password, it's very difficult. Like you share a room. You share a room. So three of you, like a roommate, so you all have the key. So you go in, go out, and so on. So it's very difficult. If you have a logbook to take note of who come in, what time, and come out, what time, and maybe your friend, your housemate, or your roommate will bring his or her friend come in as well. So the share password. Sometimes, maybe I go to the toilet first. Later you help me to open it. This one is the password. So we accidentally or we purposely or intentionally disclose the password to others. Okay, with the share password policy and disabling password, they are no longer ready. Okay, we have to disable the password. If someone already quit from your company, immediately you have to, because if you just 1 hour, he or she can make a lot of things to your system. Okay, but in the future, maybe when you graduate from UMS, you are no longer UMS student. Supposedly UMS will disable your account. Okay, will disable your account to access the SMP, to access the smart meter, to connect to the Wi-Fi immediately. Okay, this is to make sure secure. Okay, and also the lost password. If you lost the password, you have to reset the password. Okay, how you reset it? So usually now is a reset. We didn't ask to recover the password. So the good system or secure system, they will not keep your password. Last time, if you still remember, last time if you lost the password, they will ask you to recover the password, answering the secret question and so on and so forth. But no, they will totally ask you to reset the password. Okay. The opportunity for the social engineering attack, of course, the password social engineering, that means we trick someone to disclose the personal information. Okay, or we pretend someone, we call them, then we trick them, then to get that info. The automatic password reset use the secret question. Okay, the secret question also must be a higher question, higher level question. It's difficult for us to guess. If you just want to simply ask, where were you born? What is the majoring in the university? So I know your major is a software engineering. Okay, so have to design a good secret question as well. Then password must be long and complex, like a character mixed with the special character. Okay, then the case, uppercase and lowercase as well. And testing and enforcing the password must be stored as secure information. Okay, in the system, your FYP system, I think your password must set as a HR. That means the digest. When you choose as a MD5 or sharp, when you keep the password in your database, you go to the table, you can see the password actually in their hash. So in the hash, that means they cannot dehash. As you learned before, cannot dehash, cannot revert back to be a plain text. So what they need to do is just reset the password. Okay, password should be audited regularly. So either this is the end of the password. So of course, many firms want to eliminate the password because of their weaknesses. So that's why they come out no longer using the password, but they are more for the like biometric, the access card, and so on. Okay, this figure shows us some common password like 12345, 1234, and so on. And so, okay, this is just the example. Common password is too common to guess. Okay. So we go to 5.4 about the access card and token. So what about the SS card? The SS card, such as the magnetic stripe card. Magnetic stripe card, that means they have the black bar at the back of your card, like the bonus link card, the what you call it, the access card to your apartment or condominium, okay, or access card to the land, okay. So this is we call it the magnetic stripe card. Then we also have the smart card. This smart card there has a chip inside the card, like our IC. Okay, if you look at our IC, you can see the chip. So this chip consists of the microprocessor and RAM. So they can keep a lot of things here. Like what you know, actually our IC can use for the touch and go, can top up the money inside our IC, can use our IC to withdraw the money, and a lot of the function of our IC. But how many functions you have used through your IC? To be honest, for me, my IC, I just keep it in my wallet. Anything I want to show my identity, I will show through IC. I never use my IC to, for the touch and go because in Sabah no touch highway, so I seldom to use the IC for the touch and go top up. Then I didn't use the IC for the ATM machine to withdraw the money because I'm worried if let's say the machine problem, then my IC cannot get out or come out from the ATM machine. So I will no IC and I will lose my IC. Then very difficult the process for me to get another new IC. I have to go to the Jabatan Pendaftaran and so on to make the police report. And also, if you are too frequent to use your IC to in order to utilize the functions in the IC, so the possibility, okay, the high chance for you to lose your IC is very high. Okay, it's up to you. You want to use, you can continue. I didn't say cannot, but this is just my personal view. Maybe you have different view than me. Okay, so the smart card, there's a chip that can implement the public key encryption for the challenge response authentication. I think you know about what is the challenge response authentications. Okay, but we also have to consider the cost as well. Okay, so we also have the token, constantly changing the password device for one-time password. So usually you have USB plug-in tokens. Okay, you can see the example. On the right hand side actually is a magnetic chip access card, like the bonus link you can see. There's the bar here. Then this one is our IC. They have a chip here. It's a microprocessor. And then we also have the access token using the USB to plug it so we can get the access. Then we also have the proximity access token like RFID, like our touch and go. So we just near to the device, then we just touch it. So the door will open for us. Then the speaker only has to near to the door or computer to be recognized. Okay, you can see nowadays we also have the keyless car, right? Car key. Okay, keyless car. Okay, that means you just bring the car, a card inside your bag near to the car, then you just can directly open the door. Okay, but this one is a good thing, convenient. Bad thing, less secure. Okay, maybe you are near to your car, but you don't know how near they can detect. Then if let's say someone also near to your car, so they can just open the door and take the thing. Okay, and also the card. Some card is very easy to how to say duplicate. Okay, can duplicate easily. Sorry to say, I can see a lot of the posts in the Facebook. They are selling the 1B condominium access card. Okay, the tower access card. So some is the real one, some is the fake one. So that means we duplicate one. So it's very easy. What is a less case here? Okay, so addressing the loss and theft as well. If you lost the card or the card some tear, been tear, so you have to what you need to do, like the first thing of course is the card cancellation. If you lost your wallet, so first of all you have to call the card center. Okay, if you have the credit card or ATM card as well, so you have to call the card center, let's say the Maybank card center, to cancel your card first. Okay, because usually the first thing, last time you still remember in the petrol station, they know the supplicant to key in the key. As long as you have the credit card, then you can pay. You can fill out the petrol. Okay, just using the credit card. So it's very dangerous. Only implement the card and also the key. Okay, requires a wire network for cancellation speed. Must cancel quickly if the risks are considerable. Okay. So two-factor authentication needed because of the ease of the loss, attack, the PIN, and so on. Okay. So also we can store the fingerprint tempered on the device. Okay, using the fingerprint. So can you see like your IC? Can you see when you go to the bank, if you have anything, okay, they will ask you to give them the IC. Then they put the IC in the device, and also you have to provide your fingerprint or the thumbprint. Not only okay, one of the example in the, let's say example DG Center. I'm using DG, so I know the DG Center. If you want to change the plan or whatever, so you have to give them the IC, the smart card, and also provide them your thumbprint. Okay. So next we go to the biometric authentications. I think you know about this thing, biometric. So biometric actually refer to the biological measurement. Okay, biometric. So biometric authentication is based on something you are, like the fingerprint, you know the fingerprint, the iris pattern based on your eye. Okay, the movement of your iris. Okay, the face recognition. Okay, the hand geometry, the thumb, the hand, the whole hand. Okay, so or something you do like the right, you touch something, how you typing style, your writing, your walking, and so on. Okay, so all this considered as a biometric authentication. So in a biometric system, usually is the process is like this. So the user first they have to proceed to the enrollment. So in this enrollment, the system will capture, the system will scan. Okay, let's say they will scan your face first. They will scan your face, then they will use the image processing technique to extract the features from your face. Okay, from the scan face, so they extract the features, then they will store as a template in the database. Okay, they will store the template in the database. So the key features extract the scan should be nearly the same. So after that, then later, the second time when you want to come in, so again they will scan again your face, then to compare with the template inside the database. Okay, so biometric access key features will never be exactly the same as the template. So since this statement, you can see biometric key features will never be exactly the same as the template. So first enrollment is like this. Second, when you come in, they just want to verify, to check whether the template are similar or same or not, but not exactly same. So that's why in the biometric system, they have the acceptance rate. Okay, as long as achieve 80% similar, so we let them in. Okay, so we have the acceptance rate as well as we have the rejection rate. Okay, so there must be a configurable decision criteria for deciding how close a match to require, like up to 85%, up to 90%, and so on. Okay, like our swab test, right? You know, right? If you are using the PCR or RTK antigen, so they have the different percentage, okay, to prove that someone that is a COVID positive or not. Okay, the accuracy is there. Okay, so by requiring an ovary exactly match index will cause many false rejection. Yes, if it increase must be 95% or 99% match, then you can access to the server. So of course a lot of the false rejection, because it just smile in your face cannot reject, because when they attract the features will be different. So they will make exactly same 99%, they just will allow you to come in. So it may cause many false rejection. And if another way, if your biometric system require two loss of match index, they say as long as 50%, okay, let you go, let you in, and so on. So will cause more false acceptance. Yeah, if not the real person, maybe twin. Okay, they are twins. So maybe the sibling, the brother, just come in to scan or match 50%. So, but actually the brother is not the real user. The younger one is yes. Okay, so you have to adjust it. So this is what I explained to you just now. First, the enrollment. So they will go for the extraction, the key features extraction. Then check in the template. Then second time when you come, just provide the same thing. Okay, like here is the hand geometry. So again, the key features will be extracted, then compare with the template in the database. So we have the error and also the deception. What the means of the error rate and also the deception rate. So the error rate, that means the supplicant is not trying to deceive the system. The supplicant just want to provide you the credential. Okay, but the system cannot detect it or cannot check it accurately. So this is what we call the error. Okay, the deception rate, that means the imposter, okay, to deceive the system. Okay, they try to deceive the system. Okay, if he or she try. Okay, so we have the FAR and we have the FRR. False acceptance rate. What is the false acceptance rate? That means the percentage that people who are identified or verified as matched to a template but should not be. Okay, that means false acceptance. Like just now, I give you the example is the twins, right? The brother and the younger brother, A and B, they are twins. Okay, let's say A is the real user, B is not. Then unfortunately, the system can detect the B and allow B to go in, although B is not the real user. Okay, so this is what we call it as a false acceptance. So that means the percentage of the people who are identified as matched to a template but should not be. Okay. So another one is the FRR, false rejection rate. False rejection rate, that means the people who should be identified or verified as matched to a template but are not. This that means when the system detects A, then the system keep rejecting the A. Although A is a real user, right? So the system reject A, so this means false rejection rate. So A actually is who should be identified, but the system is allowed A to go into the system. So remember what is the FAR and what is the FRR here. Okay, then we also have another term, failure to enroll. Failure to enroll, that means is the supplicant, not supplicant, the user actually cannot enroll in the system. Okay, cannot enroll in the system. Enrollment actually is the first step in the biometry. So even in the first step, they try to enroll also cannot detect it clear because of the poor fingerprint. Okay, poor fingerprint due to the construction wall, maybe they have a heavy wall. home or at the construction site and make their fingerprint cannot see it clearly, okay, or the breaker or the edge as well, okay. So I just have a experience like my mom, right? My mom fingerprint is cannot work properly, so she always has a problem when she wants to outbound. That means immigration for the passport to before uh, travel, okay, before traveling, okay. So what she need to do is during the providing the fingerprint, so she has to use the rubber to rub her finger before go to the biometric device. Okay. So this is the deception. I have explained to you what is the error and what is the deception. So deception again is trying to fool, then error is not trying to fool the system. Okay, so we have the verification. What the means of the verification? We verify it. Okay, we verify it. That means in this case, supplicant claims to be a particular person. So the supplicant have to provide us the credential. Okay, the supplicant will provide us the credential. Okay, let's say I go to your system. Okay, let's say I go to the system. Okay, I go to the system. Before I go to the login to the system, I choose a different role, student and lecturer. I have to choose lecturer first, then I just can key in my name and password, then I just can go in. This is the verification because the system will verify me as a lecturer. Class understand, huh? So another example is the identification. Identification is this kind of the system, they don't have the role like the staff, the lecturer and student. You don't need to choose either you are the student or the lecturer. When you key in your username and password, the system will check all the user inside the database to identify who you are. Class, can you differentiate between the verification and identification? Okay, so watch this. Okay, watch this actually is a subset of the identification. So we try to identify members of a group. So we just have a group here. So in order to reduce the identification, okay, if identification, if let's say in our database, we have, let's say here, we have the 500 templates in the database. So they have the 500 times this one. Okay? So if watch list, so maybe only 10 templates in the watch list here, so it's only 10. So we already specify it in a particular group. So maybe we just check within this group only. Okay. So which one is good, which one is bad is again depend on the situations. Okay, like the situation identification for the computer access. Then the good is the forced acceptance is security violations. Then the forced rejection inconvenience and so on. Okay. So fingerprint recognitions, we have the fingerprint recognition. I will not go through in detail. I think you all know. As you know, I always ask you, understand or not, you just keep silent and keep quiet. I assume you all know. Okay, so the fingerprint recognitions, that means I give you, just now I gave you the example in the integration, right? Or the DG center, sorry, the DG center. So it just fingerprint recognition is very simple, expensive and well proven as well. So even in your FYP, you can use the some fingerprint recognition or face recognition. So iris recognition is the they detect the movement of your iris. Okay, the movement of your iris or the color. Okay, or the not only movement, maybe the color of your eyes, but very low cost acceptance rate, very expensive. Then we have the face recognition. So face recognition, you can see in the immigration when you try to enter the to Sabah. So they will see, please look at the camera. So when they found the face, they can recognize you. Then we also have hand geometry. So for the door access, instead of using the finger, maybe they need you to use the hand geometry. But again, use the hand geometry if let's say if someone is limbless, so what they can do. So is some limitation over there as well. Then also the voice recognitions. So voice recognition, that means maybe using your voice, then you can unlock your handphone. Like kind of the handphone, they use the voice recognition. You can say, "Hello Google," so they will unlock your handphone. Okay, voice recognition. So we have the other forms of the biometric authentication. The ring, the hand, the keystroke, the signature. Okay, the keystroke is how you type. Okay, the pattern, right? Okay, and signature, right? The how you work. Okay. So cryptography as a authentication point as well. So in our previous chapter, okay, like we have the message by message authentication. We also introduce the MS chat. I hope you still remember. Okay, the challenge. Okay, challenge initial authentication protocol. Use password for initial authentications. Then we also have the electronic signature. Then we have the key hash map, right? Okay, hash map. Okay, key hash message authentication code. Okay, so for the PKI, public key encryption or public key infrastructure, so we need the CA. I think I have briefly explained to you what is the CA is the certificate authority. So this certificate authority will prove that your public key actually is valid, it belongs to you. So when you generate a pair of key, public key and private key, before you make your key public, you have to go to send to the CA to get a certificate. Okay, for your public key. CA will prove that key is belong to you when someone requests to. Okay. So the CA, the main purpose actually is into provisioning. So the giving the user access credential. Okay. So the human registration is offered the weakest link. Okay. So again, the registration, right? So you have to prove. Like let's say I generate a key. Then I send to the CA, I claim that this key actually belongs to me. There you pay public key. I want to put it in the internet and to let others, before sending the message, they can use my public key to encrypt the message. Then if let's say someone, okay, in this case like someone imposter, they can pretend he or she or he is Eubank as well. So he come up with another key. Then he go to register with the CA to say this key is belong to Eubank. Then I am Eubank. So if the CA didn't do any further verification, so the CA will issue another certificate to this guy. Then this guy can simply put the key he generated to the internet and claim that this key is belong to Eubank. So again, my friends will use the key to send me the message, and this guy will get the message and decrypt it and get the data. Okay, so we should limit who can submit names for the registration and limit who can authorize the registration and so on. Okay. It's very easy like the public key infrastructure. If you cannot imagine about the CA, certificate authorities, then you can imagine like the apartment or condominium, the management. Maybe someone can go to management to claim okay, I lost my SS card. I am the resident in this certain unit. Okay, I am the housemate with, let's say, Ibrahim. Okay, example, in unit this one, ABC, and the management didn't do the verification or what, so the management will issue another SS card to this guy. So the control is there. We need to control it. Okay, so basically, okay, as a supplicant here, so the supplicant, as I told you, before you use the public key or private key, when you generate a public key and private key, you have to send the public key to the CA, certificate authority, here to get the what I call it, the certification. Okay, to get the certification. So when you certify the public key, let's say when you provide anything to this verifier, in this case the Brown, so this verifier will request the certificate from the CA to make sure whatever you provided by this V applicant is true. Okay, so that means verifier will direct to this certificate authority. Example, when you go to work, you provide, you interview, right? Okay, you go for an interview, you provide the certificate, your bachelor degree of software engineering from UMS. You provide to this company. Then the company will not ask you anything. The company will call UMS to check whether your certificate is true or not. Okay, so this is the first case. The second case is university provide you the certificate, right? So you are the one provide the certificate to another verifier. This is another case, to a verifier. So this verifier, they say this company will not verify your certificate unless they go to check with UMS. They ask UMS, can you send me the revocation, please? Or they can ask the UMS to check the certificate ID. Okay, whether this ID is still valid or not, or this certificate is still valid or not. If yes, so they can accept you. Okay, the two situation. Okay, first situation is you just provide the thing, then the verifier will request the certificate from the CA. The second is you get the certificate, then you provide the certificate to the verifier. Verifier will check the validity of the certificate from the CA. Okay? I hope you're clear about that. Huh? So we go for the authorization. Okay, we proceed to the authorizations. So authorizations, that means the permissions. Okay, the permissions, what you can do. Just now we cover about the authentication. We have 3A, right? Authentication, authorizations, and auditing. So now we proceed to the second one, the authorizations. So that means the permission assigned to someone. Okay, the permission assigned to individual or the roles. Okay, so what he or she can do. So we always assign the thing based on this principle. We call it the principle of least permission. We don't give all the authorities to this person. We only give just enough for him or her to complete the task. Okay, this is what we call the principle of least permissions. So initially, give people only the permission or person absolutely needs to do his or her job. Okay, see this example is very easy. System has a permission A, B, C, D, E, and F. So this person only need the A, C, and E. So we just give A and C or E as well. Don't give all. Okay, or we give A and C. After this, we give E to let him to complete the task. Enough. Okay, although it's not inconvenience. Okay, although it is inconvenient, but it's more secure. Okay, So if you just give the extensive of full permissions to the people, okay, let's say this person, again, he just need A, C, and E, but you give all. You give all, then after that you want to take it back B, D, and F. So it's very difficult. You want to take it back the power that you already give to him. It's very difficult. Okay? So again, for the authorizations, we always follow the principle of least permission only. Least permission only. Like okay, like the what like Smart V3, you can see you always will be given the least permission as long as you can complete the task done. Okay, like you can read the tutorial exercise when it open. Okay, then you have to complete it during the time, the 20 minutes. If not, so they will be closed. Okay, you have no full permission that you can extend the time. You can try to attack another time. Okay, so again, remember, principle of least permission is very, very important. Okay, although it's your relative come to your house, right? So you only give them the least permission to let them to complete the task. Let's say they only can in your living room, okay, or they cannot go to your bedroom or your parents' bedroom. So this is the least permission you can give to them. Then they can access to the toilet only. Okay. Okay. So we go to the auditing. So auditing is the third A. Authentication, we have done. Authorization, you also know what is the authorizations. Then we go for the auditing. So auditing is referred to what the person actually did. So again, it's a log file. We have to log in the event, what they have do, such as the login, the fail login attempt, the fail deletions, and so on. So the file delete, okay, the file modifications, and so on. So all these events we store in a log file. So again, in a log file, that means when we store the log file, there is a record. So if you just simply keep the log file there, you didn't go to read it, it's useless as well. Same like in the lecture, I explain to you, you go through the slide, you take notes and everything, okay. Then after the class, you just keep it until the final exam, before the final exam, 1 day before final exam, you just take out all the notes and the slide, then you just start to read. But before the final exam, maybe I come up with a pop quiz, small test, and so on, but you cannot answer. So the same thing here. If you have the log file, you have very good system, you have the log file. So if you just keep the event into the log file, but you didn't go to check it regularly, it's nothing. Like you go to the popular, you go to the bookstore, you buy a lot of book. Oh, buy a lot of book. Yes, I want to improve my knowledge in this field. I buy this book, I buy this book, I buy this book. When come back at home, you just put it in the your bookshelf. Okay, then you didn't go to spend your time to read it. So it's useless as well. It's just a book. Same like here, it's just a log file. Didn't help you anything. So we need to have the log reading. So log reading either is the regular log reading, is very crucial because again I told you the log file actually is the place to keep the suspicious packet as well, the action, right? If someone try to delete your file, okay, they will take the report and keep in the log file. So if you didn't go to regular check the log, you don't know someone actually is trying to attack or try to modify your file. So if you can detect earlier, then you can implement other security mechanism to protect your file. Okay, and second is the pre-delivery external audit. So external audit to of the log file. Okay, so to make sure the log file actually is secure. Okay, so an automatic alert, and this one is very important. Automatic alert. If you can detect someone or the suspicious deletions or suspicious modifications in the log file, supposedly should be automatic alerts the user. Okay, so we also have the this one is a Radius central authentication server. So this one I think we have explained before. The supplicant, okay, the supplicant will supply the credential to this authenticator will check with the Radius central authentication server. This is a last chapter we cover about the Radius central authentication server. We also cover why we need the central authentication server, because want to make it, if any data changes, they will be sent. Okay, so we have another one is the Kerberos. Okay, Kerberos is another mechanism. So this Kerberos will involve the Kerberos server. The Kerberos server actually is a key distribution center. So what the Kerberos do actually is the supplicants. So first the supplicant will supply their credential. Okay, the credential. Of course, the credential where they will put their name and send to the Kerberos server. So the Kerberos server will verify this supplicant. Okay, then Kerberos server will issue the ticket. In this ticket, they will encrypt with the symmetric key. They will encrypt with a symmetric key, or we call it session key. So in this ticket, symmetric key. Then and also this ticket will be embedded with or append with another the key, the same key. So one is the key here, and one is the key inside the ticket. And whole thing will be encrypted by using supplicant public key. So send to the supplicant. So once the supplicant get this key, that's the ticket and key. Sorry, I cannot draw it. Okay, never mind. Okay, class. So when you get this one, actually you have another key here. You have another key here. This is the key. Okay, then this key and also another the same key inside the ticket, and all will be encrypted by using the supplicant public key. Send back to the supplicant. So when the supplicant want to access the server, the supplicant will send the key. Will send the ticket. Will send the ticket, this TGT ticket to the server. So this server will decrypt this ticket. Then this server will decrypt this ticket and get the key, right? So now the server have the key. Supplicant also have this key. So they can start to communicate. Okay, the concept is like this. The concept is same like when you go into the fun fair. Okay, you go to the fun fair, right? Before you go into the fun fair, so you have to go to the chef, the counter, the ticket counter beside the main entrance to buy the ticket first. So they will give you the ticket, or they will give you the tag. Okay, then you have to speak with your pen. Okay, so the ticket, you bring the ticket and you go to the main entrance, you just show the ticket, then they will check the ticket, so they verify the ticket, then you just can go into the fund pay. The concept same like here. So here the supplicant will get the ticket from here. This ticket inside, this ticket have key, K, and also have the K here. So when sent back to this supplicant can open this packet and get this K. So supplicant now have K. Then supplicant just provide this ticket issued by the Kerberos here to this server. So once this server get this ticket, because this server is already have the key with the Kerberos, so he can decrypt this one. So the server can decrypt this ticket and get the key. The key, the verifier or the server get actually is same like this key. So now both parties, supplicant and the verifier has the key, has the same key, so they can start to communicate using the symmetric session key. Okay. So far okay, huh? So we go for the directory servers. So what the means of directory servers? So you have to know what is the directory servers first before we can go inside. So directory server actually the central repositories. They keep all the information in one place in a server central. Okay, for let's say information, people, equipment, software, and so on. Okay, so basically in this directory server, they are using the hierarchical database organizations. So they use the hierarchical. So they from the node, okay, a collection of the object here is called the nodes here. You can see from here is the University of Waikiki. So they go, there's the faculty, in the OU business or this another OU, the organization unit. Then go to the faculty. Then faculty there's a user, John Brown, yeah, and also their email. Brown there's the common name, Brown, email, and email. So you can see the hierarchical structure here. So usually in the directory server, the Kerberos server or the Radius server, how do you retrieve the data from this directory server? As you know, directory server is a repository. They keep the information. So the Kerberos will get the information from this one using the LDAP. What the means of LDAP actually is a lightweight directory access protocol. Direct lightweight, okay, directory access protocol. Okay, I request the Brown digital certificate. So the Brown digital certificate here, so they will come here, the hierarchical, in order to get the certificate. Okay, LDAP stands for the lightweight directory access protocol used to retrieve the data from the directory server. Okay, so using a directory server to centralize authentication information, let's say you have the supplicant X. Okay, so authentication P, Y, authenticator Q, and R. Sorry, Z, we are authenticator R. Then, in this case, you can see these two supplicants, they have the different authenticator, but they have a centralized authentication server. Okay, so this is a directory server. They can what to say? They can use the information from the directory server for this supplicant Y, and they found out from here they retrieve the data in order to do the authentication here. Okay, another case is you also like this one Z. There's another authentication server here. So use the directory server. Okay, so even if we have the directory server, there is good like okay, like actually in Malaysia we have our directory server. Like we have our driving license, we have our informations. When you give the IC, right, then they can retrieve your information. from the main directory server in our country. So about you, about your driving license, about your vehicle registration, insurance, and so on. Okay. So we have Active Directory domains entries. So here you can see we have the domain X, domain Y, and also the domain Z. So actually this domain X and Y, actually they have a controller. So this controller will contain the Kerberos server and Active Directory. Okay, so each domain controller runs the Kerberos and Active Directory. So this is just duplicate from the domain Z. It's more easier to make the authentication process more easier. Okay, a domain can have multiple domain controller. Okay, so there can be a tree of domains. Okay, domain controller in the parents and child domains do partial duplications. Yes, they duplicate from the main here. Okay, so this one also. So domain controller in the domain to do the total duplication as well. So if anything happen here, so this one can take up because the domain controller can do the authentication. The Kerberos server they can request the certificate. Okay. So we go to the last part of this chapter, to identity management. What the means of the identity management? So actually identity management is a centralized policy-based management. Again, it's based on the policy and also centralized. Only one policy but implemented in different places for all the information required to access to the corporate system by person, machine, program, or other resource. So that's why we have one single policy that can implement to different server or controller or authenticator for the identifications. Okay, so identity. What the means of identity? You know, as an attribute about a person, a non-human resources like the document, okay, number telephone, and so on. Okay, so principle of minimum identity data, that means only reveal the information necessary in a particular context. This one for our personal, we have to remember. Okay, principle of minimum identity data. We just give the enough data. Don't talk more or provide more. Okay, the more you give, the more they gain the information. So the more valuable for you. Okay. So identity lifecycle management. First is we will check the credential checking. Check your credential. So check your credential, then we'll define your identity. Who are you? Okay. So after that, we find out the trust relationship. Okay. The trust relationship later we will cover. Then the provision, the reprovision, implement the control and self-service function. Okay, so let them to change their own password or to reset their password. So the trust here, so that means we can accept the information from others or not. The mutual bi-directional, that means you trust me, I trust you. I can share my secret with you, you can share my secret with me. Then both of us trust to each other, mutual. One way that means you trust it. Okay, you trust the you trust the server, but not necessarily the server will trust you. This is one way. Okay, one directory trust and another, but the trust is not the difficult. Okay, then another one is a transitive. Transitive that means A trust B and B trust C. So definitely A will trust C. Okay. So if directory server X trust Y, X trust Y, and Y trust Z, so X will trust Z. Okay, maybe me, Liao, Ali, Ahmad. Liao believe Ali. Ali believe Ahmad. Ali trust Ahmad. So since Ali trust Ahmad, in transitive case, Ben will trust Ahmad as well. Okay? So this is what we call it transitive. Intransitive, that means in other way. So that means Ben trusts Ali. Ali trusts Ahmad, but not necessarily Ben have to trust Ahmad. Okay? So these are 4 different situation or scenario in the trust: mutual, one way, transitive, and intransitive. So we have the multiple directory, okay, and a meta directory server here. So meta directory server, so we have the multiple directory server here, okay. So this meta directory server is a big one. They will synchronize, okay, all the information in the child directory server. So like this one is a directory server X and directory server other directory server, so they can synchronize here. So this is another hierarchy. Okay, so just now what we cover is just a single, right, like the directory server. But now we have a lot of directory server. We have to go up another level. Then we call it the meta directory server. So you can see from this active directory server, if the supplicant X supply the password or they will initiate the password change, so this active directory server Z, okay, so the Z will go to the this one, okay, active directory X or active directory Y then go to the X and check with this one meta directory. If this one they trust it, okay, they will can change the password. Okay, this is depend on the trust again. Okay, so same like here, then the supplicant go to the Radius authentication server. So this is another directory server provided by Sun Corporate. Okay, change the password. Okay. So we have another term, we call it the federated identity management. What is the federated identity management? Okay, actually is the when involve 2 company. Okay, involve these 2 company. Okay, so these 2 company they cannot access the database from each other. So company A there's their own database. Company B they has their own identity management system database here. So they only can provide it through the accessions. Okay, in these accessions, they consist of the authentications, okay, authorizations, what they want to do, and also the attribute. Okay, the attribute like the buyer, purchase limit, and so on. So this what call it, the accessions will write using the Security Association Markup Language (SAML). Okay, this SAML 2.0. Okay, we call it as accessions. So the company A, when they want to request something from B, they will send the accession. Okay, they will send the accessions to B. Okay. So this figure again is a type of the accession like authentication, authorizations, and the attributes. So the accessions are standardized by the SAML. Okay. So this SAML use the XML, okay, extensible markup language for platform, okay, independence. Okay, so basically this is the identity management. So you also through this you learn about the active directories, the trust, the life cycle, and so on. So basically, what is or what are the benefits of identity management? So the first thing is the reduction in the redundant work. Yes, because we have the centralized meta directory server. Okay, then we also have the Active Directory server. Okay, more easier for us to do the authentication. Then we also based on the trust. If a transitive trust, A trust B, B trust C, A trust C. So when A trust C, they no need to do something, because since B already trust C, so I trust B, so I trust C. Okay. So reduction in the redundant work, consistency in the information, because all keep in a main single meta directory server, so the information is more consistent. Okay, the rapid changes, if anything change here, will affect to here and here. Okay, if not, you change here, you have to go to inform here and change here and so on. But if you have the identity management, the rapid change is allowed central auditing. Just audit in the main, like the main meta directory server. And single sign-on, one sign-on can access the different applications. No need to just keep sign in again, then sign in again with the different ID and password. Okay. Then currently, like our UMS, we try to move to the single sign-on. It means one single password and ID. You can sign into your SMP, you can sign into your Smart V3, you can sign the same ID. So if you change the ID, all the credentials that used to log in to the different system will be changed as well. Okay, so increasingly required to meet the compliance requirement and at least reduce the sign-on when SSO, means single sign-on, is used. Okay, so that's all class for our chapter access control. So far, any question?
Sir.
Hello?
No, sir.
No, huh? Okay, so I will share the attendance. So again, this Thursday, the tutorial 1:30.
Okay, sir.
For those who absent to my class, please give me your MC. If not, at the end you will be barred from the taking final exam. No need come to bed to me because this is your choice.